use Adobe Lightroom Classic, and if you like shooting with older digital cameras, the new little checkboxes over here on the left somewhere could be a big deal for you. But first, let's have a shootout. One of our contestants will be my Pixie Max, an M-mount digital rangefinder camera made in France. I've been using various Pixie models since 2020, and if you followed earlier episodes, you'll know that the relationship was a little rocky at first. But by now, the Max has matured into a solid, reliable camera that's my first choice for almost every kind of documentary and everyday shooting. Its opponent is going to be another M-mount digital rangefinder camera that I'm not going to talk about yet. For now, we'll just call it the mystery camera. We'll be comparing 24 megapixel digital files, and because the two cameras are quite a bit different in terms of their color rendition, contrast, and so forth, we're going to be looking mostly at differences in rendering fine detail. We'll start with this very simple test image from the Pixie Max. Viewed at 200%, it's probably about what you would expect. Now let's look at the same image from the mystery camera. Not really much difference, and on YouTube you may not see any difference at all. Zoom in to 200% and again you see about the level of detail you'd expect. Here I've tried to match them up and put them side by side. You can't really see a lot of difference, or at least I can't, although it looks as if maybe the Pixie Max picture has a little bit more fine detail and texture. Maybe we need a different subject. This building has an interesting collection of architectural textures and surfaces, and at 200% this perforated dot pattern shows a lot of detail from the Pixie. The mystery camera also looks nice and detailed in its overall image. But when you zoom into 200%, the dot pattern no longer looks quite as circular as it does on the Pixie image. Here I've tried to match them up again, although since I didn't use a tripod, sorry, they don't match perfectly. Still, I think you can see that the perforations in the Pixie Max image are rounder and more natural looking than from the mystery camera. So let's look at a more traditional architectural subject, this nice old brick apartment building near my house. At 200%, the Pixie image shows lots of detail and lots of texture in the bricks. The mystery camera picture also looks nice and crisp at full size. At 200% though, maybe not quite so much. And if we try to put the images side by side, you can definitely see that the Pixie Max image has more realistic textures, even though both of them look very crisp. Okay, it probably won't surprise anybody by now to know the trick that I'm up to. The fact is, my mystery camera is an imposter. It's not a 24 megapixel camera at all. Instead, it's my Epson RD1, a camera that I bought brand new back in 2003 and have really enjoyed using ever since. Now, one thing I've learned in 21 years of shooting with the RD1 is that even in this day and age, if you frame your shots carefully, 6 megapixels is still all you need for many kinds of uses. If occasionally you need more pixels, maybe to make a large print without jagged telltale lines, you can resort to a mathematical trick called upsampling, which synthesizes extra pixels in your file. Now there are two drawbacks to this approach. One, you can't get around. You can make more pixels in your image, but you can't actually make more real detail. You just can't beat information theory that way. Still, sometimes it's worth trying, and that brings up the other problem. All these kinds of software have involved taking your original file, running it through the software, saving a new upsampled file, and then that's the file you work with. So you've got two files you've got to keep track of and store and have taking up hard disk space and so forth. It's really kind of a pain in the butt. Or at least it was until now, thanks to Adobe's new checkboxes. Now, if you want to make a print or output a JPEG file using super resolution, you just check the box. When you're finished, you uncheck it again. No extra files, no extra size, no bother. Adobe's denoise works the same way, and in case you don't like Lightroom Classic, Adobe Camera Raw now has the same feature. Okay, so the moral of today's story is that if you've got an older, lower megapixel camera that you still like to use, you don't have to stop using it just to avoid pixel envy. As long as you use good technique and compose carefully so you can avoid cropping, even a paltry 6 megapixels is perfectly adequate for on-screen presentations, social media posts, prints up to 10 inches wide, and small format books like these that I like to make from Blurb. If you need to make an occasional bigger print, you can get a pretty convincing result using software upscaling shenanigans, and thanks to Adobe's new checkboxes, pulling those shenanigans is easier than ever. Of course, there are situations where more megapixels are better. Maybe you're shooting in fast-paced documentary situations where you need to get the picture first and then crop for composition later. Or maybe you routinely do make large prints that need to show lots of fine detail. The choice is really yours, and personally, I'm glad we have a choice. By the way, it just occurred to me that I'm possibly the only person on YouTube who owns every M-mount digital rangefinder camera not made by a German-based producer of ultra-luxury goods. So, I mean, there are only 2 of them. It's not very hard to accumulate them. But if you'd be interested in seeing a side-by-side comparison of shooting with these 2 cameras, maybe put up your hand in the comments or something, okay? Thanks.